so many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
The Pan American Highway is a connected network of roads stretching from Alaska in North America to the southern tip of South America. It spans roughly 19,000 miles, passing through more than a dozen countries and multiple climates. One notable break is the Darien Gap between Panama and Colombia, where dense rainforest prevents a continuous roadway. The Borneo cat, also known as the bay cat, is one of the rarest wild cats in the world. Native only to the island of Borneo, it lives in dense rainforests and is rarely seen by humans. Camera traps capture very few images each year, making population estimates difficult. Habitat loss and limited range contribute heavily to its extreme rarity. Tornado rotation is influenced by Earth's rotation, which differs by hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, most tornadoes rotate counterclockwise, while in the southern hemisphere, they tend to rotate clockwise. This pattern is linked to the Coriolis effect, which subtly influences large-scale atmospheric motion, though local wind conditions ultimately determine tornado formation and strength. Certain dark, glossy coatings on desert rocks, called desert varnish, form partly through biological activity. Manganese-oxidizing microbes contribute to these black layers over thousands of years. This means the varnish acts as a slow-growing biological archive, preserving environmental information rather than being only a chemical stain created by weather exposure. Vanilla comes from an orchid, making it one of the few edible orchid-derived products. The vanilla plant produces long seed pods that must be hand-pollinated in most growing regions. After harvesting, the pods undergo months of curing to develop flavor, which explains why natural vanilla is labor-intensive and more expensive than synthetic alternatives. The stonefish is considered the most venomous fish in the world. Its dorsal spines inject potent venom that causes extreme pain and tissue damage. Stonefish blend into rocky seafloors, increasing the risk of accidental contact. Anti-venom exists, but immediate medical treatment is critical to prevent severe complications. Modern road safety relies heavily on advanced visual technology. Systems such as reflective lane markings, adaptive headlights, night vision cameras, and collision warning displays enhance driver perception. These technologies compensate for human visual limitations, especially in low-light or high-speed conditions, significantly reducing accidents through early detection and clearer visual cues. The flower grown in space bloomed aboard the International Space Station in 2016. Astronauts successfully cultivated a zinnia plant in microgravity. The experiment helped scientists understand how flowering plants respond to space conditions, which is essential for future long-duration missions requiring onboard food production. The Tristan da Cunha rail is the smallest flightless bird in the world. It lives only on Inaccessible Island in the South Atlantic Ocean. Measuring about 15 centimeters, it evolved without predators, losing the ability to fly. Its isolation makes it vulnerable to environmental changes and invasive species. Before another long-running animated cartoon took the record, a Stone Age-themed series was the most successful animated television show. The Flintstones aired in prime time during the 1960s and attracted adult audiences. Its popularity demonstrated that animated shows could succeed beyond children's programming and influence mainstream television. The symbol on the Portuguese flag includes an armillary sphere, an ancient navigation instrument. Sailors once used it to model celestial movements and determine position at sea. Its presence reflects Portugal's maritime history during the Age of Exploration, when navigation technology played a central role in global expansion. The characters Yoda and Miss Piggy were both voiced by Frank Oz. Despite their vastly different personalities, the same performer used precise voice control and timing to bring both characters to life. This showcases how vocal performance can create entirely distinct identities from a single human voice. Glass fiber optics were first proposed to illuminate operating rooms rather than transmit data. Early designs aimed to safely direct light into surgical spaces without heat or electricity near patients. Only later did scientists realize the same principles could carry information, leading to modern high-speed communication networks. Newborn babies initially see mainly shades of black, white, and gray. Their visual system is still developing, and color-sensitive cells mature over time. High contrast helps infants focus, which is why bold patterns are more visible early on. Full-color vision develops gradually over several months. Famous homes often become cultural landmarks due to association rather than architecture alone. Residences of artists, writers, or political figures attract visitors interested in personal history. Over time, these homes shift from private spaces to preserved sites, reflecting how individual lives can shape collective cultural memory. Flowers generally emit stronger scents as temperatures rise because warmth provides energy for aromatic compounds, known as volatile organic compounds, to vaporize and disperse into the air. This increased scent release helps plants communicate more effectively with pollinators. Although extreme heat can cause fragrances to fade more quickly or stress the plant, moderate warmth usually enhances scent production and spread, supporting successful pollination. The largest indoor water park in the world is located in Brandenburg, Germany. Built inside a former aircraft hangar, it contains tropical vegetation, pools, and artificial beaches. The structure maintains a warm climate year-round, demonstrating how large-scale engineering can simulate natural environments indoors. There is a cosmic boundary beyond which light cannot reach us, known as the observable universe. Due to the expansion of space, light from extremely distant regions has not had enough time to arrive. This limit defines what humans can ever observe, regardless of future technological advances. Jackie Chan has released numerous music albums in multiple languages, including Mandarin, Cantonese, Japanese, and English. Many songs were used in films he starred in. His music career reflects his broader entertainment influence beyond acting, particularly in East Asian popular culture. A major car manufacturer, Volkswagen Group, owns several luxury automobile brands. These include Audi, Porsche, Bentley, and Lamborghini. By managing diverse brands under one corporation, the company shares technology and production resources while maintaining distinct identities across different market segments. The Margherita pizza was named after Queen Margherita of Italy in the 19th century. The toppings of tomato, mozzarella, and basil represent the Italian flag. The dish became a national symbol. This origin story is popular but debated by historians and not conclusively proven. Rubbing stainless steel under running water can help reduce strong odors on the hands, such as those from garlic or fish. While it is often said that the metal neutralizes sulfur compounds, there is no solid scientific evidence that stainless steel chemically binds these odor molecules. The odor reduction is more likely caused by physical removal of residues combined with water rinsing rather than chemical neutralization. Tomatoes, potatoes, and eggplants all belong to the nightshade family, known as Solanaceae. This plant group includes both edible crops and toxic species. Shared genetic traits explain similarities in flower structure and chemical compounds. Despite the vegetable's very different culinary uses, fast food chains consume billions of eggs each year to meet global demand. Eggs are used in breakfast items, sauces, and baked goods. Large-scale consumption drives industrial egg production, influencing agricultural practices, supply chains, and food pricing worldwide. Words in a language can change meaning, pronunciation, and usage surprisingly fast, sometimes within a few generations. For example, the word awful once meant something inspiring or worthy of awe, while today it means very bad. Social trends, technology, and frequent use all push language to adapt continuously rather than remain fixed. Jericho, located near the Jordan River in the modern-day West Bank, is considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. Archaeological evidence shows settlement layers dating back to around 9000 BCE. Its long history is linked to reliable water sources, fertile land, and its position along ancient trade routes. Some river deltas grow unevenly because Earth's rotation slightly deflects moving water through the Coriolis effect. Over long periods, this causes sediment-heavy currents to favor one side of a delta. Scientists have measured these asymmetries in major systems like the Mississippi River, where tiny daily shifts accumulate into visible geological patterns. The village of Yuzcar in southern Spain was painted entirely blue in 2011 for the promotion of a Smurfs movie. Originally white, every building was coated in blue paint as part of the marketing campaign. After tourism increased dramatically, residents voted to keep the village blue permanently instead of restoring its original color. Certain financial institutions offer exclusive tools and services designed only for ultra-wealthy clients. These may include private investment funds, personalized risk strategies, and direct access to specialized advisors. Entry often requires millions in assets, meaning the products are invisible to ordinary customers despite operating within the same global financial system. Bolivia officially recognizes more than 30 indigenous languages alongside Spanish. Languages such as Quechua, Aymara, and Guarani are protected by law and used in education and government. This policy reflects the country's large indigenous population and aims to preserve linguistic diversity that existed long before European colonization. The narrowest street in the world is often identified as Spreuerhofstrasse in Reutlingen, Germany. At its tightest point, the street measures about 31 centimeters wide, barely wider than a human shoulder. It was created unintentionally during medieval reconstruction and is officially recorded in city land registries. Movable bridges are engineering solutions designed to let boats pass while still supporting road or rail traffic. Types include drawbridges, bascule bridges, and swing bridges. Famous examples, like London's Tower Bridge, use counterweights and hydraulic systems, allowing massive structures to move smoothly with relatively little energy. Early mechanical calculating machines use gears with varying numbers of teeth to represent mathematical relationships. By physically encoding multiplication tables into gear ratios, these devices could perform calculations automatically when turned by a crank. Machines developed by inventors like Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz laid groundwork for later computational technology. Many early tools, machines, and structures were made primarily from wood because it was widely available and easy to shape. Watermills, clocks, and early looms often relied on wooden gears and frames. Although less durable than metal, wood allowed early engineers to prototype complex mechanisms long before advanced metallurgy became common. The decorative pattern on Oreo cookies was inspired by architectural motifs popular in the early 20th century. The original design, introduced in 1912, was relatively simple, featuring a wreath pattern with the name Oreo in the center. The more elaborate and now iconic design, created by William Turnier in 1952, includes a central logo surrounded by 12 symmetrical, four-petaled shapes. This later pattern has remained largely unchanged, making it one of the most recognizable cookie designs worldwide. Some public spaces become symbols of romance through repeated cultural use rather than intentional design. Places like Paris's Pont des Arts gained romantic meaning after couples attached love locks over many years. Films, photographs, and personal traditions reinforce these associations, gradually transforming ordinary infrastructure into landmarks tied to emotional significance. China uses a single official time zone, despite spanning a distance that would normally cover about 5 geographic time zones. The standard time, Beijing time, applies across the entire country. This decision was made after 1949 to promote national unity, even though sunrise and sunset times vary greatly between eastern and western regions. Plants have survived beyond Earth under controlled conditions aboard space stations. Experiments on the International Space Station have grown lettuce, wheat, and flowering plants in microgravity. These studies help scientists understand how plants respond to reduced gravity, radiation, and limited soil, which is important for long-term space missions. The earliest fireproof safes relied on gypsum, a mineral that contains chemically bound water. When exposed to extreme heat, the gypsum releases steam, absorbing energy and slowing temperature rise inside the safe. This method was widely used in the 19th century and provided effective protection for paper documents during building fires. The small arrow near a car's fuel gauge indicates which side of the vehicle the fuel tank opening is on. This feature was introduced to reduce confusion when refueling unfamiliar cars. The arrow points left or right toward the fuel cap, saving drivers from checking manually or stepping out of the car unnecessarily. Singapore's Changi Airport features the tallest indoor waterfall in the world, known as the Rain Vortex. It stands about 40 meters tall and recycles rainwater collected from the airport roof. Beyond aesthetics, the structure helps with cooling and humidity control inside the terminal complex. Rhode Island is the smallest U.S. state by land area, covering roughly 1,000 square miles. Despite its size, it played a significant role in early American history, particularly in trade and industry. Its short distances allow residents to cross the entire state in under an hour by car. Soft drinks often taste slightly different depending on the container because glass is chemically inert. Unlike plastic or metal, glass does not absorb flavors or release compounds into the drink. This helps preserve carbonation and original taste, which is why many people report that beverages from glass bottles taste cleaner. Some animals display extremely rare color variations due to uncommon genetic mutations. Conditions like leucism or melanism can cause individuals to appear almost entirely white or black, These variations may affect camouflage and survival, making such animals less common in the wild, despite being visually striking. Costume designers, for a fantasy television series, repurposed ordinary household rugs to create cloaks worn by characters. The thick, woven texture provided warmth and a rugged appearance suitable for harsh fictional environments. After aging and dying, the rugs became visually convincing garments without requiring custom fabric production. Certain remote islands become inaccessible at times due to aggressive wildlife rather than weather or geography. For example, some seabird nesting sites are closed during breeding seasons because birds will actively attack intruders. These restrictions protect both humans and animal populations by minimizing dangerous encounters. The zoetrope was one of the earliest devices used to create the illusion of motion. Developed in the 19th century, it consisted of a spinning cylinder with slits and a sequence of drawings inside. When viewed through the slits, the images appeared to move. This principle later influenced film projectors and modern animation techniques. The original Batmobile, used in the 1960s television series, was based on a customized Lincoln Futura concept car. Decades later, the vehicle was sold at auction for several $1,000,000. Its value came from its cultural significance, rarity, and association with early televised superhero entertainment. A well-known razor company struggled during its first year because customers did not immediately understand the need for replaceable blades. Early sales were low despite an innovative design. Only after improved marketing and distribution did the company succeed, eventually shaping the modern razor and blade business model. Barbie and Ken dolls were named after real people connected to their creator. Ruth Handler named Barbie after her daughter Barbara and Ken after her son Kenneth. These personal references became globally recognized names, showing how family influences shaped one of the most successful toy brands in history. The Industrial Revolution marked a shift from hand-based labor to machine-driven production during the late 18th and 19th centuries. Factories replaced small workshops, steam power increased output, and urban populations grew rapidly. This transformation changed how goods were made, how people worked, and how economies were organized. Early smartphone applications helped define how modern app stores function. Simple tools like calculators, weather apps, and mobile games demonstrated the value of downloadable software. Their popularity encouraged standardized marketplaces, developer guidelines, and centralized distribution, forming the foundation of today's global app ecosystems. Ukraine's national anthem focuses on endurance and persistence rather than military victory. Written in the 19th century, its lyrics emphasize survival, identity, and hope during hardship. The song reflects the country's long history of struggle and resilience rather than conquest or celebration of power. Bright colors in animals often function as warning signals to predators. This phenomenon, known as aposematism, signals that an animal may be toxic, venomous, or unpleasant to eat. Examples include poison dart frogs and monarch butterflies, whose vivid colors reduce attacks by teaching predators to avoid them. The first wind tunnels were built to test bridge designs rather than aircraft. Engineers studying failures of long-span bridges needed controlled airflow to understand oscillations and collapse risks. These experiments later proved valuable for aviation, as the same principles of airflow and stability applied to early airplane designs. Some desert plants position their leaves vertically to reduce exposure to intense midday sunlight. This orientation minimizes heat damage while still allowing efficient photosynthesis during morning and late afternoon. It functions like turning a solar panel edge on during peak heat to avoid overload while maintaining energy capture. Antipodes are locations on Earth that lie directly opposite each other, connected by a straight line through the planet's center. Standing at one point, your antipode would be beneath your feet on the other side of the globe. Most antipodes fall in oceans due to Earth's land distribution. Medieval glassmakers discovered that adding manganese dioxide could counteract the green tint caused by iron impurities. While aiming for clearer glass, they unintentionally practiced early color correction chemistry. This technique allowed production of more visually appealing glass centuries before modern chemical understanding existed. India withdrew from the 1950 FIFA World Cup, despite having qualified, mainly due to financial difficulties, travel challenges, and limited preparation. Although it is often claimed that India pulled out because players were required to wear boots instead of playing barefoot, this rule was already known. The largest known pearl is the Pearl of Puerto Princesa from the Philippines, which weighs about 34 kilograms. For many years, it was kept as a good luck charm by a local fisherman and remained unrecognized for its significance. When it was later documented, it surpassed the Pearl of Lao Tzu, revealing the exceptional size that natural giant clam pearls can reach without human intervention. To prevent cheating during exams, some institutions introduced unusually designed hats that blocked peripheral vision. These physical barriers made it harder for students to look at others' papers. While effective, such methods also drew attention for their strange appearance and rigid approach to academic integrity. Shar-Pei dogs have heavily wrinkled skin due to unusually high levels of hyaluronic acid. This substance causes the skin to thicken and fold. Historically, the loose skin also provided protection in dogfights, making it harder for opponents to grip vital areas. Vodka remains liquid at very low temperatures because of its alcohol content. Ethanol lowers the freezing point, allowing vodka to stay fluid in cold environments. This property made it popular in colder regions, where it could be stored without freezing while still remaining drinkable. One city banned mouse hunting to protect local wildlife and ecological balance. Authorities determined that unregulated hunting disrupted predator-prey relationships. By restricting the practice, officials aimed to preserve species diversity and prevent unintended environmental consequences caused by removing a small but important animal population. Learnability refers to the ability to continuously acquire new skills over time. In rapidly changing industries, this trait allows individuals to adapt as tools and knowledge evolve. Rather than mastering one fixed skill, learnability focuses on how efficiently someone can keep updating their abilities. A transparent viewing platform extends over the French Alps, allowing visitors to look straight down through glass flooring. Suspended at high altitude, the structure combines engineering precision with tourism. Its design ensures safety while offering unobstructed views of steep cliffs and mountain terrain below. Hyenas are genetically closer to cats than to dogs, despite their dog-like appearance. They belong to a separate biological family, more closely related to felines. This relationship explains certain anatomical traits, such as skull structure, that differ from true canines. China has the largest number of internet users in the world, with hundreds of millions of people online. Rapid urbanization, affordable smartphones, and widespread mobile networks contributed to this growth. The scale of its user base has strongly influenced global digital platforms and online market trends. Baby rabbits are called kittens, a term also used for young cats. The word comes from older English usage describing small mammals. Rabbit kittens are born hairless and blind, relying entirely on their mother during early development, before growing fur and opening their eyes. On a logarithmic scale, comparing sizes, a grain of sand falls roughly between an atom and the Earth. Logarithmic scales compress extreme differences, making it possible to visualize vast size ranges. This comparison highlights how everyday objects sit between microscopic particles and planetary dimensions. Some flowers have evolved shapes that closely resemble animals. Bee orchids mimic the appearance of female bees, encouraging pollination through deception. Flying duck orchids resemble small birds in flight. These forms result from natural selection, favoring plants that attract specific pollinators effectively. Ancient Andean road builders shaped stones with slightly convex surfaces, so rainwater would run off immediately instead of pooling. At high mountain altitudes, trapped water can freeze and expand, cracking stone over time. By encouraging constant drainage, these roads resisted freeze-thaw damage for centuries without using mortar, relying purely on geometry and gravity for durability. The Amazon milk frog has a smooth body, large eyes, and bold color contrasts that give it a robotic appearance. Its skin secretes a milky substance that helps reduce moisture loss and may deter microbes. Native to rainforest canopies, the frog's unusual look comes from adaptations to arboreal life rather than artificial design. The Great Wall of China cannot be seen from space with the naked eye under normal conditions. Its width is similar to highways, and its color blends with surrounding landscapes. Astronauts have confirmed that even from low Earth orbit, it is difficult to distinguish without magnification or ideal lighting. Some fungi glow under ultraviolet light due to chemical compounds called secondary metabolites. These molecules absorb high-energy light and re-emit it as visible fluorescence. Scientists are still studying why this occurs, but it may relate to deterring predators, attracting insects, or protecting the fungus from environmental stress. When threatened by predators, reindeer form tight defensive circles with their calves positioned in the center. Adults face outward, using antlers and hooves to deter attacks from wolves. This coordinated behavior reduces vulnerability and increases survival, functioning like a living shield built through instinct rather than planning. Germany's Wuppertal Suspension Railway has been operating since 1901 and still carries passengers daily. Instead of running on tracks below, trains hang from an overhead rail. Built to save space above the Wupper River, the system demonstrates how unconventional engineering can remain practical for more than a century. On average, women tend to have slightly larger pupil diameters than men under similar lighting conditions. Pupil size affects how much light enters the eye and can influence visual sensitivity. Researchers believe hormonal and neurological differences contribute, though the variation is subtle and overlaps significantly between individuals. The oldest known written recipe for soap appears on Mesopotamian clay tablets dating to around 2800 BCE. It describes mixing plant ash with animal fat to produce a cleansing substance. This method relies on basic chemical reactions and shows that early civilizations understood practical chemistry long before modern science. Many marine animals release enormous numbers of eggs or larvae to ensure survival. A single ocean sunfish can produce more than 300 million eggs at once. Most offspring never reach adulthood, but sheer quantity increases the chance that some will survive predators and environmental hazards. Early aviation maps focused on landmarks visible from the air rather than roads. Chimneys, rail yards, rivers, and large buildings were emphasized because pilots navigated visually. Roads were often hard to see from altitude, so aerial navigation relied on bold, industrial, or geometric features recognizable from above. The blue color of a major social media platform was chosen partly for accessibility. Its creator has red-green color blindness, and blue contrasts more clearly for that condition. The choice also provided strong readability on screens, showing how design decisions can be influenced by human perception rather than branding alone. Entire towns sometimes change their appearance for cultural or economic reasons. Buildings may be repainted, redesigned, or decorated to support festivals, films, or tourism campaigns. These transformations can alter local identity and economy, showing how architecture and color influence perception without changing the town's physical structure. At its greatest extent, the Roman Empire stretched across much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. It connected distant regions through roads, laws, and trade networks. This scale allowed ideas, technology, and goods to move efficiently across thousands of kilometers under a centralized administration. Monaco is the most densely populated country in the world, with tens of thousands of people living in just over 2 square kilometers. Limited land and high economic demand have driven vertical construction. This density shapes daily life, urban planning, and infrastructure in ways unlike larger nations. A themed restaurant in Taiwan serves meals in dishes shaped like toilets. Food items are presented to resemble bathroom fixtures as part of the novelty experience. While hygienically prepared, the unusual presentation focuses on shock and humor, demonstrating how dining can be transformed into a visual and cultural attraction. The most expensive dollhouse ever created is valued at $8.5 million. It includes miniature works by famous artists, functional lighting, and detailed furnishings. Rather than being a toy, it functions as a scaled architectural and artistic exhibition showcasing craftsmanship at extremely small proportions. Many country names that begin with the same letter also end with that letter due to linguistic structure. For example, several names starting with the letter A also end in A. This pattern often comes from Latin or Greek naming conventions rather than coincidence or deliberate design. Some bacteria survive antibiotic treatment by entering dormant states instead of mutating. These persister cells slow their metabolism, making antibiotics ineffective because most drugs target active processes. Once treatment stops, the bacteria can reactivate, complicating efforts to fully eliminate infections. A forest in Oregon forms the shape of a smiling face each year due to planned tree harvesting. Darker evergreen trees outline the smile, while lighter areas appear where logging occurs. The pattern is visible from above and was intentionally designed by forest managers rather than occurring naturally. The sound heard when holding a seashell to the ear does not come from the ocean. It is ambient noise from the surrounding environment resonating inside the shell's curved interior. The shell amplifies certain frequencies, similar to how blowing across a bottle opening produces sound. San Marino is considered the world's oldest existing sovereign state. Founded in the early 4th century, it has maintained continuous independence through changing empires and borders. Its longevity comes from geographic isolation, diplomatic neutrality, and early adoption of a stable republican system. Biological differences between genders exist in areas such as hormone levels, average body composition, and reproductive anatomy. These differences can influence metabolism, muscle distribution, and disease presentation. While individual variation is large, population-level patterns are well documented in medical and biological research. Astronaut Charles Duke left a photograph of his family on the moon during the Apollo 16 mission in 1972. The photo included handwritten text identifying his wife and children. Exposed to radiation and temperature extremes, it remains a personal artifact of human presence beyond Earth. The Proto-Elamite writing system used numerical symbols that changed meaning depending on the goods being counted. Numbers were not abstract, but embedded with units such as grain or livestock. This shows that early accounting systems tied quantity directly to material context rather than separating numbers from measurements. Certain deep-sea sponges build skeletal frameworks from silica that can guide light through their internal structures. These natural glass fibers transmit light similarly to optical cables, even in complete darkness. Scientists studying these sponges have found that their light-guiding properties may inspire new approaches in bio-optical engineering and low-energy light transmission systems. In classical rhetoric schools of ancient Greece and Rome, students memorize speeches by mapping ideas onto imagined buildings. This method, called the method of loci, involved placing arguments in specific rooms or landmarks within a mental structure. By mentally walking through the space, speakers could recall complex arguments in the correct order during public speaking. Modern technology now allows live visual portals between distant cities. These installations use high-resolution screens, cameras, and real-time data transmission to create the illusion of a shared physical window. People can see and interact with others thousands of kilometers away, blending public art, telecommunications, and urban design into a single experience. A fruit known as black sapote naturally tastes similar to chocolate pudding when ripe. Native to Central America, it has soft, dark flesh and a mild sweetness. Despite the flavor, it contains no cocoa. The taste comes from its chemical composition, making it a popular ingredient in desserts without added chocolate. Humans generally cannot smell while sleeping because sensory processing is reduced. The brain limits how smell signals are interpreted during sleep, prioritizing rest over environmental awareness. Strong odors can still cause awakening, but subtle scents usually go unnoticed, showing how the brain selectively filters sensory information during different states of consciousness. Dubai is home to one of the largest flower gardens in the world, containing tens of millions of blooming plants. Carefully maintained despite the desert climate, the garden relies on irrigation systems and seasonal planting. It demonstrates how controlled environments can support large-scale botanical displays in extreme conditions. Puffins are often called sea parrots because of their brightly colored beaks. During the breeding season, the beak becomes especially vivid, displaying orange, yellow, and blue tones. These colors play a role in mate selection. Outside breeding periods, the beak fades, showing how appearance can change seasonally. The first Industrial noise regulations emerged after textile workers experienced widespread hearing loss. As factories grew louder, governments and engineers began measuring sound levels to establish safety limits. This led to early acoustic standards, recognizing noise as a workplace hazard that required regulation, much like chemical or physical dangers. On clear days, visitors standing atop Chicago's Willis Tower can see into multiple states. From the observation deck, parts of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin may be visible. The wide view is possible due to the tower's height and the flat surrounding landscape, which allows distant horizons to remain unobstructed. Bullying can cause long-term psychological harm that extends into adulthood. Research links repeated bullying to increased risks of anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming relationships later in life. The effects persist because chronic stress during development can alter emotional regulation and self-perception, making early social experiences highly influential. The United Arab Emirates uses drones to help stimulate rainfall through cloud seeding. These drones release electrical charges into clouds, encouraging water droplets to combine and fall as rain. The technique aims to increase precipitation in arid regions, supplementing traditional water sources through atmospheric modification. Vodka was originally used as a medicinal substance before becoming a social drink. In Eastern Europe, it was prescribed as a disinfectant and treatment for ailments. Its alcohol content allowed preservation and sterilization, making it valuable in medical contexts long before it became associated with recreation. Mirror hours occur when the hour and minute display the same numbers, such as 11:11 or 22:22. These moments are simply numerical coincidences caused by the structure of digital clocks. While often assigned symbolic meaning, they result from predictable time formatting rather than any physical phenomenon. The mimosa plant can rapidly close its leaves when touched due to changes in water pressure within its cells. This movement occurs within seconds and does not rely on growth. The response may help deter herbivores or reduce damage, showing that plants can exhibit fast mechanical reactions to external stimuli. Apples belong to the same plant family as roses, known as Rosaceae. This family also includes pears, cherries, and strawberries. Shared traits include flower structure and seed development. The connection explains similarities in blossoms and genetic traits, despite the very different forms the fruits eventually take. The first logo of a major technology company depicted Isaac Newton sitting beneath an apple tree. It referenced the story of gravity and discovery. The detailed illustration was later replaced by a simpler design, reflecting a shift toward modern branding and easier recognition in a growing consumer technology market. A power plant in Copenhagen doubles as a ski slope built on its roof. The facility generates electricity while supporting recreation through artificial snow surfaces. Its design integrates infrastructure with public space, showing how industrial buildings can serve multiple roles without sacrificing functionality or safety. Some Pacific Island navigation chants encoded star paths as family genealogies. By linking stars to ancestors, navigators memorized complex routes across open ocean. These oral systems functioned as astronomical databases, preserving precise directional knowledge without written charts or instruments. Modern electronic devices rely on multiple layers of legal protection. These include patents, copyrights, and trade secrets that safeguard hardware designs, software code, and user interfaces. Legal frameworks help companies protect innovation while defining ownership, shaping how technology is developed, shared, and commercialized globally. Some self-driving car companies use realistic video game environments to train artificial intelligence. These simulations allow vehicles to experience rare or dangerous scenarios safely. By running millions of virtual miles, algorithms learn decision-making patterns faster than real-world testing alone could achieve. China hosts some of the world's most extreme obstacle courses, often used for military and athletic competitions. These courses feature steep walls, water traps, and endurance challenges. Designed to test strength, coordination, and resilience, they emphasize physical limits rather than speed alone. A saddle-shaped mountain in Mexico serves as a well-known natural landmark. Its curved profile resembles a riding saddle, making it easily recognizable from a distance. Such formations result from erosion acting unevenly on rock layers, carving distinct silhouettes that often become cultural and geographic reference points. The first public time signals were delivered by firing cannons at exactly noon from prominent locations. Cities used the sound to synchronize clocks, but distance caused delays, meaning people farther away heard the signal later. This turned timekeeping into an urban coordination problem, where accuracy depended on geography, sound speed, and public awareness rather than precise instruments, especially in expanding port cities. Certain medications can reduce levels of essential vitamins and minerals in the body. For example, long-term use of some acid-reducing drugs can interfere with vitamin B12 absorption, while specific antibiotics may affect vitamin K. These interactions occur because medicines can alter digestion, gut bacteria, or nutrient absorption pathways over extended treatment periods. In Japan, some unused public phone booths have been converted into goldfish aquariums. Transparent walls allow passers-by to view the fish inside, turning obsolete infrastructure into public art. These installations reflect Japan's approach to reusing urban space while blending everyday objects with aesthetic and cultural expression in dense neighborhoods. The tallest sandcastle ever built was constructed in Denmark and stood over 20 meters high. It required thousands of tons of sand and the help of engineers to maintain stability. Special mixtures of sand and water were used to prevent collapse, showing that large sand structures rely on controlled physics, not just sculpting skill. The name Wendy became popular after the publication of Peter Pan in the early 20th century. Before the story, Wendy was extremely rare as a given name. J.M. Barrie popularized it through his character, leading parents to adopt it widely, demonstrating how literature can directly influence naming trends across cultures. Human perception operates beyond conscious awareness. The brain continuously processes sensory information, filtering most of it without conscious notice. This includes detecting patterns, recognizing threats, and regulating balance. Such unconscious processing allows quick reactions and efficient functioning, even though people only experience a small portion of what the senses detect at any moment. Christmas Island hosts a massive annual migration of red crabs, with millions moving from forests to the sea to breed. Roads are closed to protect them as they cross. The timing is linked to rainfall and lunar cycles, making the migration a predictable natural event that dominates the island's ecosystem each year. The Olympic rings symbolize unity among athletes from 5 inhabited continents. Each ring represents a continent linked together to show international cooperation. The colors were chosen because at least one appears on every national flag. The design emphasizes global participation rather than competition between regions or political systems. White rhinoceroses are not actually white but gray. The name likely comes from a misinterpretation of a Dutch word meaning wide, describing the animal's mouth shape. Over time, the term was mistranslated into English as white, creating a misleading but widely accepted name in scientific and popular use. An early version of spreadsheet software included a hidden flight simulation game. Developers added it as an Easter egg, accessible through a specific sequence of actions. While unrelated to the program's purpose, it showcased programming creativity and later raised concerns about hidden code in professional software used by businesses. Some cruise ships offer permanent residential living, allowing people to buy or lease cabins long-term. These residents live at sea while traveling between ports worldwide. The ships provide housing, utilities, and services, functioning like floating apartment complexes combined with continuous international travel and scheduled global routes. The electric chair was developed in the late 19th century through the combined efforts of several contributors, including dentists, engineers, and physicians. Dentist Alfred P. Southwick played an early role by proposing electricity as an alternative to hanging, but the final design drew on broader medical and electrical expertise. Language can evolve alongside agriculture as new farming practices require new words, measurements, and social coordination. Early agricultural societies developed terms for crops, seasons, tools, and land ownership. As farming spread, these concepts shaped grammar and vocabulary, embedding ideas of time, labor, and property directly into language, showing how daily survival activities can influence how humans communicate abstract ideas. A group of gorillas is called a troop, or sometimes a band. These groups are typically led by a dominant silverback male who coordinates movement, protection, and access to resources. The collective name reflects their structured social organization, where relationships, hierarchy, and cooperation are essential for survival in dense forest environments. The first waterproof watches relied on cork gaskets to keep water out. Watchmakers borrowed this idea from wine bottles, where cork had long been used as an effective seal. The material's compressibility allowed it to expand and fill gaps, protecting delicate watch mechanisms from moisture before synthetic rubber seals were developed. Many insects rely on chemical defenses to survive predators. These chemicals may taste bitter, cause irritation, or even be toxic. For example, certain beetles release foul-smelling compounds, while monarch butterflies store toxins from the plants they eat. Such defenses reduce predation by making insects memorable and unpleasant targets. Baby possums can briefly hang from their tails during early development. While adult possums use their tails mainly for balance and gripping branches, young possums have enough tail strength to support their light body weight for short moments. This ability helps them cling to their mother or nearby surfaces during early growth stages. Marine fossils have been discovered near the summit of Mount Everest. These fossils come from ancient sea organisms that lived millions of years ago. Their presence indicates that the rock layers were once part of an ocean floor, later uplifted by tectonic forces during the formation of the Himalayas. Some cities replicate famous foreign landmarks to attract tourism. Examples include scaled versions of the Eiffel Tower or Venetian canals built far from their originals. These replicas create familiar visual experiences, allowing visitors to encounter global architecture without international travel, blending imitation with local urban development strategies. Many celebrities collect unusual items unrelated to their careers. These collections range from historical artifacts to everyday objects amassed in large quantities. Such hobbies reflect personal interests rather than public personas, showing that fame does not limit curiosity or the desire to preserve niche or unexpected items privately. Time zones influence when global celebrations occur. Events like New Year's Eve happen at different moments worldwide, creating a rolling sequence of celebrations. This system coordinates daily life across regions while also shaping shared experiences as people observe others welcoming the same event hours earlier or later through media. In the 19th century, courtroom sketches acted as visual records before cameras were allowed in trials. Artists quickly drew scenes, capturing faces, gestures, and atmosphere. These sketches served as public documentation, influencing how legal proceedings were perceived before photography became legally accepted inside courtrooms and judicial settings. A dog's nose print is unique, much like a human fingerprint. The pattern of ridges and creases differs between individuals and remains stable over time. Because of this, nose prints can be used for identification, particularly in controlled environments such as breeding records, veterinary documentation, and working dog registries. During the early 20th century, Cleveland was one of the largest cities in the United States. Its growth was driven by manufacturing, steel production, and transportation networks. The city's population ranked among the top 5 nationally, reflecting how industrialization shaped urban importance during that era of rapid economic expansion. In classical Chinese metallurgy, bell sounds were tuned by adjusting the tin content of bronze alloys. Rather than altering the bell after casting, craftsmen controlled pitch through precise material composition. This approach required a deep understanding of how metal properties affect vibration and sound resonance consistency. Canadian banknotes are made from a polymer plastic rather than paper. This material increases durability, resists moisture, and improves security features like transparent windows. Polymer notes last longer in circulation, reducing replacement costs while also making counterfeiting more difficult through complex embedded elements. Eider duck feathers are among the most expensive in the world due to their insulating properties. Collected from nests after breeding season, the down provides exceptional warmth with very low weight. Harvesting is labor-intensive and carefully regulated, contributing to its high value and limited global availability. Classic films often remain popular across generations because their themes, storytelling, and craftsmanship remain relatable. Advances in restoration also preserve image and sound quality. As a result, older films continue reaching new audiences, maintaining cultural relevance long after their original release in modern viewing formats. Compact discs were designed to hold approximately 74 minutes of audio. This length was chosen to accommodate a complete recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The decision influenced storage standards, showing how artistic preferences can shape technological specifications adopted worldwide by manufacturers. A dangerous road in China was carved directly into a mountainside, forming a narrow path along steep cliffs. Built to connect remote areas, it required manual excavation through rock. The road's design reflects extreme terrain adaptation rather than conventional transportation planning, prioritizing access over comfort or safety margins. Some urban air purification technologies are designed to mimic trees. These structures use filters, airflow systems, and sometimes algae to absorb pollutants. By copying natural processes, they aim to reduce air pollution in dense cities where planting large numbers of real trees is difficult or impractical. The earliest voting machines used colored balls dropped into hidden tubes to register choices. Each color represented a different option, and concealment ensured secrecy. The system translated individual decisions into physical movement, forming an early mechanical method for recording votes reliably in organized elections. Some natural lakes appear unreal due to extreme water clarity. When particles and algae are minimal, light penetrates deeply, making the water look transparent. This clarity can create optical illusions where boats seem to float in air, even though the effect is purely physical and environmental in origin. Tropical regions host many unusual insect species due to stable climates and abundant vegetation. Constant warmth allows insects to specialize in narrow ecological roles, leading to extreme shapes, colors, and behaviors. Examples include leaf insects that mimic plants and beetles with exaggerated horns, reflecting intense evolutionary pressure and competition. All the gold ever mined in human history would fill only a few Olympic-sized swimming pools. Despite gold's cultural importance, it is relatively rare in Earth's crust. Estimates suggest that all refined gold could fit into a cube about 22 meters on each side, highlighting how limited the global supply truly is. Some monkey species greet each other with unusual gestures that resemble rituals. Capuchin monkeys may stick fingers into each other's mouths, while certain macaques touch faces or lips. These behaviors help establish trust and reduce tension, functioning as social signals that maintain group stability and cooperation. The Royal Clipper is the largest full-rigged sailing ship in the world. Inspired by 19th century clipper ships, it carries 5 masts and thousands of square meters of sail. Although equipped with modern navigation systems, it relies primarily on wind power, blending traditional sailing design with contemporary engineering and safety standards. France's longest land border is not in Europe, but in South America. French Guiana, an overseas department, shares a long border with Brazil. Because it is legally part of France, this border counts as French territory, illustrating how colonial history continues to shape modern political geography. Collectible currency can gain unexpected value due to rarity, historical context, or printing errors. A misprinted banknote or short-lived coin design may become highly desirable to collectors. Over time, demand can far exceed original face value, turning ordinary money into valuable historical artifacts. The smallest horse ever recorded was a miniature mare named Thumbelina. She stood only about 44 centimeters tall and weighed less than 30 kilograms. Despite her size, she was fully grown and healthy, demonstrating how selective breeding can dramatically alter animal proportions while maintaining basic biological function. Obsidian, a natural volcanic glass, can be sharper than steel surgical scalpels. When fractured, it forms edges only a few molecules thick. Because of this extreme sharpness, obsidian blades can make very clean cuts, although their fragility limits widespread medical use compared to metal instruments. Some countries appear unusually close to perfect geometric shapes when viewed on a map. This often results from borders drawn along lines of latitude and longitude rather than natural features. Such shapes usually reflect political decisions made during colonization or land division rather than organic geographic boundaries. In the 19th century, color blindness testing developed after railway accidents were linked to signal misinterpretation. Engineers realized that some workers could not reliably distinguish red and green lights. This discovery connected sensory physiology directly to public safety, leading to mandatory vision testing for transportation workers. Oak trees support hundreds of dependent species throughout their lifespan. Insects feed on their leaves. Birds nest in their branches, and fungi grow around their roots. Because oaks live for centuries, they provide long-term ecological stability, acting as foundational structures within many forest ecosystems. Mont Saint-Michel is a historic island structure located off the coast of Normandy, France. It is connected to the mainland by a causeway that floods during high tide. The site combines medieval architecture, religious history, and dramatic natural surroundings, making it both a strategic fortress and pilgrimage destination. The human heart beats well over 100,000 times each day. Each beat pumps blood through the circulatory system, delivering oxygen and nutrients while removing waste. This constant activity begins before birth and continues without conscious effort, demonstrating the heart's endurance and reliability as a biological pump. Jam and jelly differ mainly in how fruit is used during preparation. Jam contains crushed fruit or pulp, giving it a thicker texture and visible pieces. Jelly, by contrast, is made from strained fruit juice, resulting in a clear, smooth spread. The distinction reflects processing methods rather than flavor alone. A famous video game character's mustache was originally designed to overcome early graphic limitations. When characters were rendered with very few pixels, facial details were hard to show clearly. A mustache helped distinguish the nose from the mouth and made expressions readable. What began as a technical workaround later became an iconic character feature recognized across generations of players. Protective spiked dog collars were first used in ancient Greece to guard livestock dogs against wolves. The spikes prevented predators from biting the dog's neck during attacks. Made from leather reinforced with metal, these collars allowed dogs to defend herds more effectively, showing how animal equipment evolved alongside early pastoral societies and predator threats. In professional tennis matches, balls are replaced frequently to maintain consistent performance. As balls are hit, their felt wears down, and internal pressure drops, affecting speed and bounce. Professional tournaments replace balls after a fixed number of games to ensure fairness, allowing players to compete under predictable conditions throughout long, high-intensity matches. Central Asia's tallest chimney, located in Kazakhstan, has become a destination for extreme climbers. Rising over 300 meters, the industrial structure attracts athletes who scale it using specialized equipment. Its height, smooth surfaces, and exposure make it a unique challenge, turning a functional energy structure into an unexpected site for extreme sports. The Aliena Unum is an experimental electric supercar developed in Bulgaria, designed with more than 20 electric motors. Each wheel can contain multiple motors, allowing precise torque control. The concept focuses on extreme acceleration and power distribution, pushing electric vehicle engineering beyond conventional designs into highly specialized performance territory. A well-known rock singer, John Bon Jovi's first professional recording appeared on a themed holiday album. Early in their career, They contributed vocals to a Christmas compilation before achieving mainstream success. This recording is often overlooked, but it shows how many musicians begin with small or unexpected projects before gaining widespread recognition. Certain residential designs can create surreal living environments through unconventional shapes, colors, or layouts. Homes built into cliffs, underground spaces, or mirrored surfaces alter perception of space and light. These designs challenge traditional architecture, making everyday living feel visually unusual while still serving practical residential functions. Even a small amount of oil can contaminate large volumes of water. A single liter of oil can spread into a thin film covering thousands of square meters. This film blocks oxygen exchange and harms aquatic life, demonstrating how minor spills can cause disproportionate environmental damage due to oil's physical properties. Speech patterns vary significantly between individuals due to differences in anatomy, learning, culture, and social environment. Factors such as tongue shape, breathing control, and exposure to language influence accent and rhythm. These variations make every voice distinct, even among people speaking the same language and dialect. Disney characters often wear gloves to simplify animation. Early animators found that drawing hands with multiple fingers was time-consuming and visually confusing against dark bodies. White gloves made hand movements clearer and faster to animate, becoming a stylistic choice that later defined many classic animated characters. Relative speed increases when objects move toward each other. If two cars each travel at 50 kilometers per hour in opposite directions, their relative speed is 100 kilometers per hour. This concept explains why collisions feel more severe and why closing distances shrink faster than expected in opposing motion scenarios. Some ceramic artists intentionally create cracks during firing, a technique known as controlled crazing. By carefully adjusting cooling rates and glaze composition, fine crack patterns form on the surface. These cracks are valued aesthetically, turning what is usually a flaw into a deliberate decorative feature. An astronaut once drank espresso in space using a specially designed cup. In microgravity, liquids float instead of pouring, so the cup used surface tension to guide coffee toward the mouth. This design allowed astronauts to enjoy espresso safely, while demonstrating how everyday activities require engineering adjustments in space. Shakespeare's daughter, Judith Shakespeare, could not read or write. Historical records show she signed documents with a mark instead of a signature. This was not unusual for women at the time, reflecting limited access to formal education, even within families connected to literature and intellectual achievement. In English, no number contains the letter A before 1000. Words like 1 through 999 all avoid that letter. The first occurrence appears in the word thousand. This linguistic pattern is accidental, resulting from how number names evolved rather than deliberate design. Buffalo, often called water buffalo, are not true cattle, but a separate species domesticated thousands of years ago. They are better adapted to wet environments and are commonly used for farming in Asia. Their strength and tolerance for heat make them valuable working animals distinct from cows. No location in England is very far from the sea. The farthest point from the coast is less than 100 kilometers inland. This proximity has shaped England's climate, trade history, and naval development, ensuring that maritime influence reaches nearly every part of the country. Time can be measured in extremely small fractions, far beyond seconds. Modern atomic clocks measure time using vibrations of atoms, accurate to billionths of a second. Such precision is essential for technologies like GPS, telecommunications, and scientific experiments that rely on exact timing. The Pacific Ocean was named for its calm appearance by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan. During his voyage in the 16th century, he encountered unusually peaceful waters. Despite the name, the Pacific is capable of severe storms and contains some of the most active tectonic regions on Earth. These facts don't change how the world works, they explain it. Once you notice the reasons behind ordinary things, patterns start to appear where randomness once seemed to exist. That understanding is what connects history, science, and everyday life into something that finally makes sense